Yeah. What's your phone number? 32703. That's order. Welcome to the 13th March 2023 meeting. Appreciate everyone coming. I think we're going to have a decently long meeting, several major things happening, including multiple hearings, multiple big votes. Christy, if you would do our invocation for us.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening and we thank you for this time. Father, we ask you to direct our steps, give us wisdom and knowledge. Lord, we give this time to you, give us peace and safety throughout. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
And Lexi, if you would take a roll call for us. Tracy's at training, so Lexi's doing it tonight.
Ashley.
Here.
Renee. Here. Christy. Here. Jeffrey.
Here.
Nola. Present. Gary.
Here.
Tracy.
Excused. All right, so we have the approval of the agenda next. If anyone wants to make a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support? Support by Nola, any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. He's figuring out. So just probably note that on your agenda. I used to, early in, when we were doing it, I made a piece of paper for every single motion that we did. But now that we approve the agendas, we approve the minutes of some of those ones that are business that occurs every one, I don't make a little form. Yes, well, it's just extra paperwork and we already have 105 pages. So next, we have approval of the past meeting minutes. There are two sets of minutes in here, one for February 13th, one for February 27th. Do we have a motion for one or both of these?
Make the motion.
Motion by Carrie,
I'll second.
support by Renee. This is for both. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, past meeting minutes are approved. Next, we have the treasurer's report. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns from the board on the treasurer's report? None, we will file that. Next, we have paying the bills. We have a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
And makes motion, support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes, ma'am. Gary.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Christy. Yes. Jeff.
Yes.
Nova. Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the fire department reports, if you would, chief.
The mayor, my report, rather slow month this year. This year for January. Because of our weather. Everything's been going well. Big changes, I think, is all caught up. We're just finishing up our last bit of stuff to close out this year's budget year. We have a couple of repairs to two of the vehicles, annual maintenance, but unfortunately we found that there were a couple of things we need to do, so we might as well fix them for the budget year. So my goal is, I'll get with Tracy and Lexi here in the next couple of weeks. My goal is to have our books completely closed from our ELs by the end of the month. So we won't carry anything over into month. If needs be, township will do, but we won't. Other than that, things are going well. That's all I have until we get down to stuff later.
Excellent, appreciate it.
That's all you want.
Next, we have the planning and commission reports, if you would lead.
We met February 28th. First thing was a public hearing for Thunderbird Raceway. They're asking for extension of race hours to 12 p.m. as needed, in case there's a weather delay or crash injury, and permanently approve of the concessions. Heard public comment and questions with owners clarifying concerns. Motion to board for recommendation for approval. Second was a site plan review 23-02 for the shunting of rental trucks at John's Market. Owner and U-Haul rental manager were in attendance. This was at a previous meeting. Nobody was there, so we postponed until that February 28th meeting. We took consideration to improve neighbor concerns and motion to approve. Number 3 is a draft ordinance 23-05 for ponds, sand, gravel mining, excavation, thing we've been talking about for the last couple months at the planning commission. It was a final look at wording and things like that, and motion for public hearing.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we have the maintenance and grounds reports, if you would, Nate.
Yeah, name of the game right now is just trying to clean up. I wrote this, you can see I wrote on here spring cleanup. It was melting last week, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I got one of the employees, seasonal employees, is coming back next week because I may be going on maternity leave or whatever you'd like to call it soon. So we're gonna make sure that's get all taken care of. Yeah, just did a bunch of repair in the offices here. Got a lot of stuff coming up this spring, hoping to tackle twin lake fence and road signs and all the shebang. Looking good so far.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we're moving on to our first public comment section. So we have a couple of hearings. All right, the one is for the Spark grant, and the one is for the McCabe FOIA appeal. Now, on those, there is time slotted specifically for people to speak on the item when we're on the item. The rest of it, which there's quite a lot, including Central Road. I'm guessing a decent number of people here for Central Road, is not, because we had the hearing last month. So there is not a hearing on that. So if you want to speak on it, speak during the first public comment. There's not a hearing for Thunderbird. There's not a hearing for the fire millages. Now, the board may ask people questions at those times if the board wants to, but there's not a specific hearing. So if someone wants to speak, you can do so at the first public comment. Please come up to the lectern. 3 minutes, I'll turn on the light. It stays through red. Let us know what you think. Anyone want to speak on anything at this point?
Are we talking about the road here?
Yeah, you can speak about the road here. Yep.
Okay. My name is Jeff McKee, and I'm just wondering, I got this in the mail on Saturday, so I didn't know if I had to bring you another objection or.
We don't need a specific another one, but I'll take it if you want.
Yeah, I just want to
Is
make
it the
sure
same
that-
one or is it reworded?
It's reworded. I just
Okay.
want to make sure that I have everything in order.
Yeah.
So, okay, we all know why I'm objecting to it, correct? Or does everybody? Okay, yeah, it's just a $2,800 piece of property with a $6,000 road assessment. Well, okay, good. Well, thank you.
Perfect. Good. Anyone else? Yeah.
Comment. Mark Wiley, live on Central Road. Got me outside the mess. I just gotta say that it's up to us. Gretchen ain't gonna fix it. Says she's gonna, but she's not gonna. So it's up to us. You have to choke the cash. But it's over 10 years. And the township's playing the game that you can put some money down on it. You can pay the whole thing. It's a Wild West show. So you can lower your payment if you want to put a couple grand down on it. We all got the paperwork. It's not due to December. Like I say, it's not going to get any better. When I talked to everybody, no one told me they wanted to move. In fact, 2 people said they wanted to build on the property they already had. So, yeah, that's all I got to say. This is our shot. And I don't feel bad about you.
Oh yeah, I don't feel bad about me. I don't.
I want to throw something else out there. I haven't talked to anybody about this. I just thought about this on the way here. Would the township consider or think about if he was willing to gift the property to you guys? You would accept that property and pay for the bill? Pay the pave?
Yeah, I'm not giving it away. I do run, so.
Well, I figure you pay $2,800 for it.
Yeah,
You're gonna pay $9,200 the next 10 years if it goes.
well, according to state law, I don't have to pay it. I just need to do the whole formality thing until I take it to the state of Michigan. So according to state law, I'm totally exempt from this because,
But it's not buildable?
you've got, okay, so you're adding, you're billing me 6,000, according to state law, these special millages, people who are exempt from these special millages is, okay, so I'll be billed $6,000 or $10,000, about $10,000 for it, and it is not gonna increase the value of the property by $10,000. So that's what the state, I actually have a printout of the law if you wanna read it.
No, I believe it.
Okay, yeah, so what happens here, I just need to keep coming here and objecting until we get a decision, and if that decision isn't favorable, I just need to go talk to the magistrate in the state of Michigan, I will be exempted from it, so, that's
Tax
my,
tribunal guy or something then?
I know the tax tribunal, I think it's pretty close, it's probably the same guy, isn't it? Jeff, do you know?
Well, the tax tribunal, I'm not sure.
Okay,
So, because the township obviously doesn't control that aspect, it's directly through the state, so I'm not sure if they've changed or anything like that.
okay.
But the appeal, yeah, you can work with our assessor to go through that.
So the assessor would meet me with the tax tribunal at, like, one time I went to Hart, one time it was in Muskegon. They kind of like move them around all over the place, so you just have to.
Wise.
Yeah, really it is. So,
Okay, on that line, the only thing I can think of is that our SUV is not gonna go up on our property because of this road.
That does not jump
that-
that property amount.
Pardon?
That does not increase the property amount in the calculation. Now, if people start selling their houses and they're worth more, then it can go up because it's comparable towards the sales.
but I talked to the tax assessor, and the tax assessor called the previous tax assessor, was familiar with the property. They already know everything going on with that property, and they said that this particular piece of property, it will not add any value to it at all. So it's not gonna add value to it, and because of that,
That's
I'm
that's its own hearing. Right, that would be its
Yeah,
own
yeah,
hearing,
yeah.
depending on how it goes. There's obviously a lot of caveats.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
So then the properties that are exempted is, I've got a lot that I paid 10,000 for that's underwater. We had a guy come out last summer to see how far down the water table was, and it was about 18 inches. $10,000, it was in the summer that I had that done.
Oh, was it? 'Cause that
Yes,
was
it
like
was.
what, 48 max. You're hitting water table.
Mine was less than 24.
Okay.
Cause my,
Ed Colgrove, I think.
yes, Ed Coldgrove Central, been there almost 15 years. But $10,000 levy on a $10,000 property is not gonna make it for 20,000. So my question is, if these properties that are exempt, that cost gets spread out among the other ones, correct?
There's a difference depending on when it were to occur, right? So if it occurs, if the board ends up removing them, right, then that is redistributed. If you take it to the tax tribunal, they end up taking it off, it's not redistributed.
Who pays,
Depends on when it
who
happens.
pays for it?
The township.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
I'm Angela Sutter. I live on Central, but I'm off the road 3 lots back. And I'm next to Ed. And we are at the very beginning of the Bear Creek watershed. We are in water. My issue is they're gonna do the road. Fine, it does need to be done. I mean, I'll have to pay my share. I'm just gonna have to eat the bullet. But are they gonna do ditches? Are they gonna address the water? Which, if not, will cost us a lot of money in the long run down the road later. As well as if the roads aren't done, what about the damage to our cars? That road is so bad you can't even idle down the road. And that adds up. I don't know about you guys, but I work week to week and that's it. There's no savings, there's nothing. It's week to week living. I don't have partners like most of you anymore. Mine died, I'm on my own. So, I am concerned about if it's gonna be done, I want it done right. My father ran into construction for the state of Michigan, and I know things that they do cut and curb on. And ditches are a major issue on that road, major issue.
Yeah, on that, I talked to the road commission just recently. In fact, man named Kevin, great guy. He dumped some dirt on the road for us. He said though, when they do pave the road, if and when they do pave the road, that's part of the process. They make sure it has proper drainage. And I'm sure they might just dig some more deeper ditches. And I don't know if you got it from Central Road, you got it from the highway.
I get it from both of them. We got 6 inches from the highway needs to be dug out.
Yeah,
I
so
had the highway flooding my entire
I'm
yard.
confident,
Foundation almost moved.
I'm confident we could come up with an unlimited number of complaints in
And I have a
general.
floating
Right,
foundation.
we're good. I mean, probably just on roads. We could probably spend 7 hours on, well, there's enough people here. I could probably spend 7 hours complaining about roads. Then you guys could cover how much time you want.
Well, like I mentioned,
But, right, that's not the direction I'm attempting
Right.
to get through the meeting. It's gonna be a few hours probably already, so.
but if the road's done, ditches should be done with it.
That's my understanding. That's the road commission told me that
That's
that's
good.
part
It's
of
a
it.
road commission engineering thing. And
That's why the cost is so high.
any other public comment on anything?
Finalize 222 West Barn. My only concern is, how will we know what we're finalized paying? When it's about not, whether yours gets changed, anybody gets changed, how are you guys gonna
Yeah.
determine? All of a sudden, we having $15,000 we're paying off? Each individual, if it turns in there's only
Yeah. the
two less parcels or 3 less parcels or.
So if the board were to remove a parcel, right, and then that amount needs to get divided, the little over $9,000 gets divided among the rest of the parcels, right? That's how that part would work. But when the board votes tonight, we'll know what that is moving forward, if any got removed, if anyone makes a motion for that. And then the final hearing would be next month, assuming both these go through, which is maybe a big issue.
And at that time, would we have any idea who is gonna be involved for sure and who's paying and who's not?
Well, yeah, I mean, the role will be set according to those numbers. Now, the tax tribunal thing is something that happens completely after this process, right? So that ends up being essentially a separate process. You just have to appeal in this process to get to that process. Good. Anything else? On anything else?
Just a minute, Ed Colgrove again, still on Central, but I got you.
Haven't moved yet.
I haven't moved. What I mentioned to you earlier, and I'd like to let everybody hear it and get opinions on that, is hold up the acreage for all of these properties. And then I have 6.5 acres, so I pay whatever percentage that is of that. You know, instead of saying, okay, we're gonna do it this way tonight, period, go by acreage. And some of these guys that have 1 or 2 acres don't have to pay the same thing as a guy that's got 30 or 40 acres.
I'll bring it up when we come to the board discussion and vote on it. All right. Anything else? Yeah.
Unrelated to this, I'm just curious, Thunderbird, has that been approved?
Your name.
That's,
Oh, Michael Bennett, sorry.
So
The Central
Thunderbird,
guy.
yeah, you can speak to it if you want.
I mean, it's our number 20 on our list, so I mean, during the planning commission meeting, we we motioned for it to come to, it's a special thing, the motorsports park.
Okay, I think I understand.
It's coming to here, we'll vote here in a little bit.
Yeah,
But it's to extend it to midnight
No,
under certain circumstances?
no. So the request was to extend it to midnight. It goes through the planning commission, right? The planning commission approved through 11:45. And then concessions were added on that, but as far as I can tell, everyone agrees with concessions, so I don't think that's controversial. So just the time. Now, motorsports complex are unique because of the way the ordinance was written a number of years ago. So normally special use would end at the planning commission for motorsports complexes. It then comes here, which is what we're seeing tonight.
Okay. It's just all of us on Central live with that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Saturday night.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That was Lee's report. That's what they requested.
I have since, I've been here 20 years, I get it free because I hear it. I could have.
You got some more on this?
Yeah, on this raceway, best of my knowledge, if you grant them that, that means they can start the race at midnight And that means they could go to 1 o'clock in the morning before the race is over. Is that correct?
No.
The race have to be done at that time. Because the way it is now, they go late because
On April
they say,
1
they
in the
told me
morning.
before that we got a permit that says, gotta be over by midnight. He said, but if we start a race at 5 to 12, we can finish that race.
No, the idea is that if you started a race before 11 and the end time is 11, they can use that as a buffer to finish that up,
Okay.
right?
Really doesn't bother me anyway. I was familiar with it when I first moved in here.
Anything else?
Quick question. Do I have to object tonight for my vacant land?
Well, you should put in a written objection, ideally before this. But if, Lexi, if you want to hand him a piece of paper, you can write out an objection, sign it, hand it to me, just at some point during the meeting. That'll be the third written objection. Cool. All right, anything else? All right, we're gonna move on to our decision item. So first decision item is the fire millage renewal, with resolution 2023-12. And so we've been talking about this for quite a while. I thought about bringing it last year to a vote, but I didn't want to rush it. You know, that's why we've discussed it a few times. The reason we're seeing a renewal at the same time as this increase is because what I don't want to put in front of the voters is a vote now and then a vote in a couple of years, because I think that's really confusing, right? If I was a voter and I voted for an increase this year, and then a couple of years from now I voted for a renewal, I'd be like, why are they every couple of years asking for a money, right? Why are they asking for a money increase? And so the renewal is a renewal, right? It'd be the same rate that we're at now. So in a couple of years. That's why the resolution is written up as extended in 17 years. So it'd end at the same time as the proposed increase. All right, so the renewal is for the operating millage to be renewed. Next, we'll see the increase, which is the 0.85. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. All right, cool. And do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-12 for fire millage renewal.
All right, motion by Karen, support by Renee. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the fire millage increase, resolution 2023-13. So, and I think this is somewhat of, which has gotten a little controversial because of the idea that the fire department goes on a lot of medical calls, and that is correct. Right? So the fire department goes on a lot of medical calls. We see it every month with the chief's reports. We see it with every one of his yearly reports. And the idea with that is, I think it's probably some people's opinions that they wouldn't be needed on the medical calls. But I think a decent number of people know that ambulances are getting a little slower in the area and this type of stuff. I don't think it'd be a good idea to cut those. I think that might be a disaster, actually. And so, but to cover the calls, and they go up and down, right? It's like the stock market. But to cover the overall up trajectory, along with, which I think is a cultural trend of less interest in the future generations, I mean, I know it's not there. And you're going to have a hard time getting these. Some people call it volunteer firefighters, right? Because they volunteer. We pay them when they're on calls. And so between those two trajectories coming together, it would be really nice to add a few full-time firefighters, preferably 3, that can rotate shifts to make sure we're covering all of those calls. So that's the idea behind it.
I agree.
And they didn't want to ask for a full mill. You know,
Right.
that's why it's 0.85. I think it's a very reasonable ask.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-13 for fire millage increase.
Support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Christie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have land sale request on Poppy and Calumet. So the guy that requested this came in before the meeting. He didn't want to come to the meeting. He said, we didn't want to hear public comments. I invited him. I said, it's already going to be rough anyway. I said, you know, it's completely okay. He still didn't want to come. And so on here, there's 3 pieces of property that border his house that he was requesting, right? The one big piece, 2 small pieces. And so he no longer wants to request the large piece. He only wants to request the two small pieces that are closest to his house. All right, does that make sense? Just these two?
Yep,
Yep, not this.
Not-
Yep. And so that's what he wanted to change it to, which, I mean, it's the first of a three-step process for the board here, so this would be a good time to change it.
So what's the actual acreage now? Because if that's changed,
Yeah, so
the acreage will be changed.
both of these small pieces are 0.12. So it's a total, instead of being almost 3 acres, approaching 3 acres, now it's 0.24, so just under a quarter of an acre. Just the area around his house.
We have an approximate, do we know what it's worth?
Oh, that's what we're
That's
setting
what the beginning
up
will
for
be.
right now. We're gonna set it up to get town.
Right, yeah, this would just be the first step.
We've been using the past so far to figure out the prices, wasn't
Tucker, and then,
it? Tucker.
and then the true cash value from the assessor. All right,
Just setting a minimum bid for reference parcels of copy and count.
yep, the two referenced, correct?
Yep.
Yep. All right. Motion by Carrie, support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the deputy treasurer on choice one bank accounts. So I wrote in other bank accounts just so we're covered in the minutes, but choice one likes having meeting minutes to change people on bank accounts, which is fair enough, so that's all this is.
I make a motion to approve Heather Cooley being put on the choice one of the other bank accounts.
Motion by Renee, second by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Renee? Yes, ma'am. Carrie?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Christie? Yes.
Yes,
Nola? Yes.
motion passes. Next, we have public comment resolution 2023-17. So this one specifically came up because of McCabe at the end of the last meeting. And I made sure with everyone in the audience that everyone wanted him to be done. We put it on the agenda so that it's 3 minutes. And he requested a FOIA, right? So Freedom of Information Act requested that policy as made by the board. Now, I can find in 2011 that a policy was made, a resolution was put in place by the board, but in the resolution book for 2011, that one is not there. It's number 9. There's 8, there's 10, and number 9 is gone. So I'm guessing at some point in the past, someone took that out. Now, we approve it. That's why I put it on the agenda, right? So we're, as a board, approving it on there as it goes through. But it's reasonable to have one in place as well. And so I wrote up this resolution just saying that we can limit it to the 3 minutes and the first one ideally to on agenda items because that allows us to get to business. When we're early in our term, obviously we had a few people that, got up and went off the rails a bit on the first one. I don't mind as much in the second one.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-17 for public comment.
Support. Motion by Carrie, support by Lee. Any discussion among the board? None. Roll call vote.
Carrie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Renee? Yes, ma'am. Christie?
Yes.
Yes.
Nola? Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next, we have road commission contract. And I do have a note on this. All right, so I left it on your packets because the road commissioner contacted me after I got these out on Wednesday. And they didn't put in Michelin. That newly paid portion of Michelin. The road commission likes to do the chip seal preferably the year after, because it's economical. It's pretty cheap. It makes the road last quite a bit longer, especially if they do it early. And they had not included that in the list. So it's $28,000 deal, which our portion of that, they'll split it with us 50-50, is $14,000. That's why I included the second one, because it would increase that, it would change it. I had them rewrite the contract. And so that's the only change there.
Make a motion to approve the 2023 local road project contract with Muskegon County Road Commission.
Motion by Noah, second support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Nola? Yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Renee? Yes, ma'am. Christie?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the Cedar Creek Fire Department contract. I do have one correction in here. I proofread it and had changed some things and fixed some things. But there is one thing that I missed, and that is in the first line. It says Dalton Township, a Michigan corporation, which is true, but it is needing to say municipal corporation. And so very, very small change in there. This has been worked out, so we cover 10 square miles of Cedar Creek Township for the fire coverage. Then Muskegon Charter covers 8 and Fulton covers 18. This has been coordinated, the chiefs have talked. This has been coordinated both with the Cedar Creek, Linda, supervisor over there, and the other municipalities for doing this contract over the next 3 years. We were a little behind them on our fees for this year, so that's why we see the increase in the first year from 46 to 49,000, and then 2% after that.
I make a motion to approve the fire protection agreement with Cedar Creek Township.
Motion by Carrie, support by Christie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Nola?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Renee? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the sewer rate increase resolution 2023-16. Obviously, sewer financings were a huge issue coming up on a multi-million-dollar gap when we first taken office. And so we were able to get a lot of that sorted with the property sales and the big increase last year. Now that rate study projected an increase of 4% a year after that. And so that's what this is. We'll just have to see it yearly to increase it. This is from $40 per RU to $41.60 per RU.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-16 for the sewer rate increase.
Support.
Motion by Noah, support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Nola? Yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Christie?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have Thunderbird Special Use Resolution 2023-11. And so we've heard a little bit on this already. This has gone through the Planning Commission, the Motor Sports Complex, go through the Planning Commission for special use, but then come through the board. It's an old political thing. The request here was to extend hours till midnight. The Planning Commission did not approve that. They approved it through 11:45. It also deals with concessions. I do not believe anyone has had any concerns over concessions that I have heard. So it's really just the time that's been the debated portion. This is written up as 11:45.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-11 for Thunderbird Raceway special use.
Motion by Carrie, support by Noah. Any discussion among the board?
What was the time last year?
11:45.
Same,
Yep.
same, yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else? Roll call vote.
Carrie?
Yes.
Nola? Yes. Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Lee?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the FART grant hearing and resolution 2023-14. So I am going to begin that hearing and I am going to open the public comments for this hearing. It's its own separate hearing. It's the first of 2 hearings we'll have tonight. This one is specifically on the Spark grant that's being applied for Beagle Park. So it's development that's happening at Beagle Park through a grant that we're applying for. If anyone has any public comment they want to make on that, please come up to the lectern, let us know who you are, and let us know what you think. Not a hugely controversial topic, so I wasn't sure if anyone would be here specifically for that. And so we will close the public comment section of that public hearing. And do we have anything from the board? Included in the packet, which are publicly posted online, everyone can see them. I also included the letters of support that Christie was able to gather, and quite a few.
Quite a few letters.
Yeah.
I'm impressed they got bumped it out there too. So.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that, yeah.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-14 for the Spark grant at Beagle Field.
Second.
Motion by Carrie, support by Renee. Any other discussion among the board? Hearing none, let's roll call vote.
Carrie?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Lee?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes. Next, we have the Water Policy Board alternate. So we changed this last month. Because Tracy was the alternate, she got moved to the full position, which means we don't have an alternate. And so Christie has said that
No,
she.
economy. Just kidding.
You can see the Facebook rumor spreading right now. And she said she was willing to be the alternate, and so that's the way I have it written up on here.
I make a motion to appoint Kristen Miles as the alternate on the water policy board.
Motion by Noah, support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Noah,
Yes.
Harry.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee, Christie,
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have Staple and West Lake Streetlight Resolution 2023-15. So this was in the fall. I believe this was requested because there's a number of students in the morning from different households. They get on the bus at this location, decently dark, and requested a streetlight be installed. So I put the request in with Consumers Energy. They have to get engineering and things drawn up, so it usually takes a decent while. And then we have to approve a resolution, their specific resolution, and a contract to go with that. So that's what we're seeing now.
Make a motion to approve the contract and resolution 2023-15 for the Staple and West Lake Streetlight.
Support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Harry,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
Renee, Yes, ma'am. Christie,
Yes.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have board review poverty exemptions. It seems like we would be able to adopt them once and say that they're going to be updated as the feds update their numbers, but it's not so. You have to update them. You have to approve them every year. So we're seeing them.
Make a motion to approve the poverty exemption requirements and guidelines.
Motion by Carrie. Do we have a support?
Support.
Support by Noah. Any discussion among the board? It's really out of this little grouping, it's that last page, the numbers that the feds really changed. And last year, there were decent changes among the guidelines because of the state changing laws too, but minor this year. Any discussion among the board?
When would this start? Effective immediately?
No. Yep.
Okay.
All right, roll call vote.
Harry,
Yes.
yes. Lee,
Yes.
Renee, Yes.
Yes.
Christie,
Yes. Motion passes. All right, next we have Central Road Second Resolution 2023-09. And so this one is the resolution that would go with the hearing, right? When we completed the hearing last month. So that portion is done, but we postponed this, and so we didn't take a vote on it. I've included one objection from Vice here in the packet. And so that makes our second objection to this. Did you have that completed? All right, and then we have an objection from Colgrove. And so that's 3 property objections on the project. And now that won't get us over 50%, so we don't have to legally stop the project, but it is in the board's discretion whether to move forward or not. Basically what happens with both these resolutions, this resolution establishes who's going to be on it. The next resolution, which we'll see next, but only if this passes. If it doesn't pass, obviously, we won't go on to resolution number 3. Resolution number 3 sets up another hearing for the next one, right? There's 4 resolutions, 2 hearings in each one of these processes. And so Colgrove had brought up of doing it by acreage. I checked on a couple of things. So the normal ways of doing this, there's 3 normal ways of doing this. One is by frontage along the road. One is the same per parcel. And one is to split those 50-50. Those are the standard operating procedures for doing something like this. I had inquired into doing it according to the taxable value as well, and actually even had the attorney draw up those numbers. But the range ends up being massive, and then it's not proportional to the use either, right? And then I also inquired into doing it on like a voluntary basis, and you get a cascade effect. Obviously, if some people want to be taken off, then that number gets redistributed among whoever's left on. So you just take a little over $9,000, divide it by whoever's left. That's how much their amount goes out, right? So you'll have a tendency to cause a cascade effect on people getting off. Because like all government processes, you have a tragedy of the commons, what's technically called an economics with a free rider problem, right? And so that's what we're dealing with. That's part of why it causes so much conflict. The other part is human nature, right? And so the acreage one, though, I did not specifically inquire into. I think it'd be very similar to the frontage, although I think maybe acreage might make more sense rather than the frontage, right? And so, it can be done proportionally like that. Obviously, we would have to go back to numbers if we wanted to do it in some fashion like that. We're probably, I'm not sure exactly where we are in time frame for the road commission.
I think that's a good idea too.
All right, and I don't know how far we'd have to start the process over exactly to roll back to the acreage.
Also, I'm having a hard time with maybe having someone being who's been living there for how long, he can't afford this kind of a hit.
Yeah,
Putting his whole, this man out of a home.
yeah.
I couldn't live with myself, just
I
like
couldn't
kicking
either.
one person out of a home, I can't do that.
Just have a nicer road, obviously. Needs to be done. No one's arguing that. It's just,
Which is where the money comes from.
Right.
Right. All right, and so actually, I'm gonna ask you, Mark, I have the petitions. But I know we wrote that petition up in a certain way that, so everything would be clear on how we were doing it. And do you remember, I'll have to go back, I've included it in the board packet when we approved it and everything, but I don't have it included here. Do you remember if we wrote that up as being per parcel in the petition?
What I believe we did.
I think we did because I wanted to be explicit and
That's
clear,
why he got
right?
hit,
I like
'cause he got
Yeah.
too perfect.
I like being clear on what's happening. And so I believe if that's true, then it's a restart at the beginning of go get a petition signed to do this written up in a different way. It's
So that would be more legal fees.
correct. So we're a few $1,000s into it to go through fully through a process like this between legal fees, publications, notices, it adds up to approaching $7,000. We're about halfway through the process, so we're probably a little over $3,000 into it. I mean, relatively small compared to what the project is, about $250,000 work.
I can see why people don't tackle this.
It's difficult, not fun. I mean, to the extent, I like challenges and I like hardship to a certain extent. So in that way, it's fun. But outside of that, not so.
No.
I know it's a weird spot, pretty open on it. Does anyone want to make a motion in any direction on this?
This is a hard one.
Wish we had.
Cold Grove, I'll address, Cold Grove, if you want to say something.
Before we go through all the legal and everything, can you do it on your own? So, okay, so many acres, this is how much. Can you do that just as a preliminary and see what the difference would be?
Well, I mean, I can just do those numbers myself and then, so if we're going in that direction, right? So if the board's not making a motion on it and we're saying we'd like to see it done in a different way, I could just do the math myself. I got a decently busy week with multiple days of tax exemption meetings and stuff like that. I might be able to get you those numbers maybe next week, maybe this week. I spend a lot of weekends here. I'm trying to do less, and so I could probably just do those numbers myself according to what we have now. Well, if we're looking at someone redoing a petition and putting the work into that, right? It's not always that you have someone with the initiative that Mark has. That's a lot of times why these projects aren't happening, because it takes a lot of initiative and a decent amount of work. I know he was mailing people letters and stuff to do that, right? And so if you kill that initiative, then a lot of times it doesn't start back up. Well, I could look at those numbers myself, send them to whoever would be interested in potentially going out and doing the petition, and look at writing up a petition that says according to acreage, and then basically start it over. Now, those numbers would change somewhat, because then we're looking at next year, and obviously the road commission wouldn't be purchasing the same material.
Right, cheaper. It's not gonna get cheaper.
I never expect for prices to go down on things. Every now and then it happens, right? But we're in a banking collapse right now, so I don't expect the economy to get better in the near future.
I don't think it's gonna get any better trying to redo numbers. I don't think it's gonna.
Most likely,
And you're not gonna change, those that are against it are not gonna change their mind.
most likely, we end up with the same amount of controversy at the end of that process.
Yep, and so we're gonna be wasting
Right.
more money and more time.
Probably.
Correct.
So the government is not an efficient entity.
Is there any way that if we pass this now to continue with the momentum, and those people that have written objections, I'm just thinking back about I know it's not related, but the tax millage where there's a income-based thing where they could petition to the township.
Not on special assessments. Even if you get a poverty exemption for your taxes and you have like a drain assessment for special, a lot of people went through that, right? The drain special assessment, that part still counts, or sewer, or water, or road. Those are separate than the poverty exemptions on taxes.
Even a disabled vet, if they are exempt from paying taxes, they still have to come in and pay their assessment on their bill.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not exempt from that.
Just trying to bring.
So does anyone want to make a motion to pass? Does anyone want to make a motion just to stop? Or are we looking at me redoing numbers, and then if someone wants, they can redo a petition?
And if you do want to stop, anybody can do a petition again at any time, correct?
Anyone can do a petition again at any time. Now, because of the way these processes have gone in the past, I figured if Mark was able to get 75%, I wouldn't bring it to the board because why? Now he got over 90%. So I was like, well, how do I not bring 90-some% of people on a petition to the board?
But that was prior to the numbers coming through. When they got the sticker shock, there were a little more people that were true, but they're not here.
Great. It always has to be, it's going to be prior to the numbers because the road commission, essentially, so if this process stops, the road commission wasted their time and effort and money. And so they don't like doing these because that's normally what happens, right? So they go out, they engineer it and everything, they get it all set up, and then it comes here, it dies, and then they say, oh, we wasted our time. And so they don't like doing it unless we have a high percentage of sign on the petition too, just for that reason.
How many owners we have on this road?
I can't remember offhand, but I think it was 20-something.
24 properties.
24.
Yeah. 24 parcels, the other 20 owners.
So we got 3 objections, that's 21 still wanting it.
Not objected, at least.
Right.
Now, I want to at least have a vote on it, right? Because we've been through all of the effort and stuff, right? If it's voted down, that's fine. But I don't want to just move past it on the agenda. So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-09, the second for the Central Road paving project. Do we have a support? Support by Nola.
You've got one spot.
You can still vote either way. All right, so I made the motion, but Nola supported. Any other discussion among the board before I call for a roll call vote? Roll call vote.
Jeff?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Renee?
Yes.
Christie?
No.
Carrie?
All right, so motion doesn't go through, which means that, someone can do, we won't do the third resolution. That process obviously stops there, right? We can't do the third resolution if we didn't do the second resolution. And so, but if anyone wants to put in another petition, like in the acreage form, that's completely fine. You guys can reach out to me, supervisor@daltontownship.org, 231-332-6700, whichever way you want to do it. And I will look at getting those numbers together and send them to whoever would like to see them.
But the process has to start all over.
Correct.
That's not gonna be, that's not gonna be cheap. Okay, we live in democracy. Majority's gotta do that. And yeah, I feel horrible about that. I feel horrible about both those guys,
I don't feel bad about me. I was gonna pay for it anyways.
Yeah. It's one of those things, and we deal with a lot of stuff that's going to be controversial either way. Any special assessment, I think, that goes through will be controversial either way, right? So, but we'll have a second public comment at the end of it.
As of now, how many people have you rejected the road? Is it 3 people that
I have
rejected the road?
3 written objections on the road.
Rejections, okay.
Yep.
So figure each parcel is 20 of them, so that's 5%. So right now you have 15% of people say they don't want it. Is that correct?
3 out of the 24.
No, not 24, it's up 20, because there's 24 parcels, but only 20 owners.
Okay, yep, so 3 out of 20.
So with 20 owners, it's 5% per owner. You got 3 to say no, it's 15%. So why would you stop it if only 15%?
Okay, well, let's do complaints in the second public comment segment. All right, so the next thing, because we're not doing the third resolution because the second resolution stopped, is the senior millage allocation. All right, and so on this, and we are in an odd spot. I think it's a very odd program. I completely get the sentiment of why the voters passed it. I think it's rough in how it's administrated and how it's handled. And so to try to spend money, the county has been allocating yearly money to the local municipalities. Now, the township before I was in was allocated for Meals on Wheels, and then we did that our first year in our first term, or our first year of the term. And then we moved it towards snow plowing over the winter, and then Safe Seniors for the senior scammers. We have not, as of this time, received the money for this year, but I do believe the county approved it, so we're supposed to get it. Now, because of the way the time frame falls, fiscal years, right? Everyone operates by fiscal years because it's supposed to be easier according to their year, which means everyone operates by different fiscal years, which means it operates not very well. And so ours has to start by state law in the near the middle of summer, spring to summer. Basically, we start April 1st through March 31st. The county, they do theirs in the fall, in October. And then we have to have the money spent by then, right? So we're a few $1,000s, I can't remember exactly how far it is, a ways into the snow plowing. Obviously, snow plowing has occurred. And so once we get the county money that hopefully is coming, that's supposed to be coming, we'll obviously pay for that snow plowing out of that. We've already been paying that. And then this I'm writing up as the rest, right? Left after the snow plowing. I have it written up for the Safe Seniors program through Age Well for senior scammers. That's what we did last year. But we can do something else.
But my aunt, thank God, she's getting her driveway plowed. However, I am noticing that they are plowing half her driveway up her yard.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so now we're gonna have this pile of dirt that has to be replaced. I'm like, can we not allocate some of that money to repair the damage? I mean, this is crazy. Like, I seen it, I'm just like, what? So they're damaging some of these driveways when they're plowing, and
I would prefer to just stop
like,
that. And
yeah,
it doesn't work out.
I would do that too. I mean,
It doesn't work out great for our fiscal year.
That's
And
terrible.
so I mean, we could just not do snow plowing. Those people that didn't want the snow plowing could just not sign up for it too. That would probably be the most obvious solution.
right.
But if you don't like the snow plowing, then we could just not do snow plowing.
And not
Well,
repair the
let's hold them
damage done.
accountable for whenever they do damage.
They should be held accountable for that.
Is there
somehow.
anyone else? that's
We could
looking
do
at-
something like that. I'd rather kill the program. I mean, am I gonna drive around to everyone's driveway?
Has anyone called you with complaints about this snow plowing?
And I'm the only one that's mentioning it because I'm seeing it happen. And I'm just like, oh boy, like she's got some good sized rocks that are out towards the front of her driveway to help with drainage or what have you. And now those rocks are like 50 feet or so up by her garage and not out where they're supposed to be. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I was just surprised.
Yeah.
That didn't happen last year, but it happened this year. And maybe it's the drivers. There was a part of me was gonna call the church and say, hey, what's going on with this? Cause like that's damage.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Well, I mean, you get people volunteering,
Mhm.
you know, and I mean, so,
Paid for the service.
yeah. Yeah, we
They're
pay for
getting
this stuff.
paid for that service. It's not.
Do the drivers get paid?
Yeah,
Do they?
I don't know. Somebody's getting paid.
Somebody's getting paid.
Somebody's getting paid because there's money allocated for it. So somebody's getting paid.
Well, right, but things are not free. Like, I mean, the trucks aren't free. No one donated their trucks, right? No one donates their gas.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have to pay for it. Everything could just come from, the feds. Or whatever people expect it to come from.
Still paid for it. Still paid for it. Still, we're still paying for it.
It's a little awkward. Tell me if I'm reading this wrong. So so we're allocating the money that's left over that we haven't yet received.
Correct.
Just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Sounds like Congress spending the money you don't have.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, the government stuff works horrible. So and the voters voted for the senior millage. I mean, that was it was an odd one, right? It's a good sentiment, right? Because the basic sentiment is like, do you want to take care of old people? Yes or no, right? That's kind of what it looks like on the ballot. And so most people mark yes. But how does that work out in actuality, right? How does it work out in practicality? Well, so the county has a bunch of programs, but they're having a hard time actually dealing with running the programs, doing the stuff, allocating it to places. So then they push the money down to the smaller municipalities. And if you talk to the smaller municipalities, everyone's trying to figure out how to spend it, how to get rid of this money, right? Like, how do we do something with it? And places have gone with just sending all the seniors gift cards, which is a very odd thing to do, because now you just like took a bunch of people's money, processed it through multiple governments, and then after a ton of expenses, send out a bunch less money than you took in, right? And so, but everyone's trying to essentially figure that out. I mean, it's difficult because you're only going to hit a fraction of the seniors in the township anyways. And so it seemed like, snow plowing would work out decent, and then senior scammers would work out decent because seniors get scammed a lot. I mean, they were born into a world without the internet, and now there's NFTs and who knows what those are. So, I mean, these are reasonable things, but I don't know how to administer it well. I'm against the program overall personally. I think it's bad. I think it's a bad plan to have the government run the senior millage, but nevertheless, we still have to make a decision. We cannot make it. I mean, we could technically just say, hey, county, like, keep the money. I mean, we could do something like that. It probably causes our administration to be less, and then the county does whatever they do.
I can't vote on this because, like you said, it's money we don't even have.
It's absurd.
Yeah. I mean, do we just want to
tell?
do we just want to tell the county we're not interested in the senior millage anymore?
I think that's good.
But isn't that something that the people voted to, so I'm like.
Oh, the county is going to keep taking the money. Yes. The millage doesn't go away.
Right.
Now, the millage is expiring at a certain time, right? So it just means that some citizens in the township could still get services. Before we approved the snow plowing program specifically through us, a few people in the township were getting snow plowing through the county program already. By us approving it, it just allowed people, because they had a waiting list. It just allowed us to cover the people that were on the waiting list, allowed us to cover more people because we're allocating more money for people in the township. So if we take it back to the county, I'm sure the money will get spent somewhere, wherever the county ends up deciding. They have a ton of their own meetings, a ton of their own boards and committees.
Okay, so let me ask this. If we had a list, if we postponed this to next month, I understand the fiscal year and all that junk. I would be willing to call every one of the seniors that is in Dalton Township to ask them if they're happy with it. Because I don't want to cut off what they've come to rely on.
Right.
But just because they might have some rocks out of the way, no disrespect.
No, I do that.
But if nobody has complained about it.
Right.
So
Are you talking about calling every senior in the township?
The ones that are
Receiving the senior
that are
health
receiving.
Oh, I mean, I did that last year.
So was anybody dissatisfied?
There were a few people that thought, like the plowing could be better, basically.
Mhm.
And then most of the people were happy with it. A few didn't care. A few were confused, I think.
And I would think calling Mr. Cross and talking to him. Chris Cross,
Yeah, I've always had,
expressing,
I haven't talked to Chris a ton,
I'll make the call.
but
Yeah, you know him.
he's always seemed good to work with.
Absolutely.
I don't want to cut it off just
I don't want to
because
come down either.
they come to rely on it, they've come to rely on it. And I don't want to cut it off.
So much, especially it's not just the snow plowing, but it's the cutting of the lawn. Like that's huge. And when you live in a place where they say, oh, it can't be more than this tall, or we're gonna fine you, it's like, Golly.
Yeah, and I
Somebody
mean,
82
we didn't
there.
allocate anything for like the lawn cutting and stuff, especially because it gets weird out here. So, I mean, how much are you going to cut? You know, I'm like, all right, I'll do like 3 swipes in front of your house and then we're going to go to like a weird little patch. So, because Chris and I talked through that, you
Yeah,
know?
they've done a good job.
Well, if you're getting the lawn care stuff taken care of, that means you're getting paid for by the county directly, not by the township.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, we're just gonna,
For a month.
Let's table it.
Yeah.
Table it.
What do they call it?
I'd say postpone it for a month. If you want to do that. Yep, that's fine.
I want more information on it. And when the check comes in, that'd be nice to know.
Yeah.
All right, next we have the ZBA alternate. And so we had the 3 people left from the board review application for last month. We have an alternate spot on the zoning board of appeals that I would like to fill. Well, one of the people was not interested, 2 were, so Lori and Mark. And so I have their information in here again, if anyone wants to make a motion to put them as the alternate on the zoning board of appeals.
We only need one alternate?
Yep.
I would make a motion to appoint Mark Grant as the alternate to the zoning board of appeals.
All right, motion by Noah, support by Carrie. Any other discussion among the board? None, roll call vote.
Paula? Yes. Harry?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Christie?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the McCabe FOIA appeal hearing. So this is different than the one that we saw last month. All right, so this is what I mentioned before during the public comment part. It's specifically over that 2011 policy, right? The resolution that was made, number 9 in 2011, about commenting at public meetings. And so this is a public hearing, so public can comment. I'm going to open the public hearing and open the public comment. Anyone would like to make a comment on this FOIA appeal, welcome to come up to the lectern. Let us know what you think. A lot of times McCabe will come in like halfway through the meeting to try to throw people off, but he has not in this one, so I don't think there's anyone here to comment. So I'll close the public comments. All right. And so basically, I wrote this up in that we approve on the meeting agendas and both public comments where I put that there is 3 minutes. And on the first one, I put on agenda items. And so that's the way I wrote up the motion that's stated on there. He's aware of it, obviously. He's seen our agendas and picked them up.
I make a motion to affirm that the board approves the meeting agendas with a 3-minute time limitation as stated.
Motion by Noah, support by Carrie. Any other discussion among the board?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So 3 minutes, and then someone says something, and then 3 minutes again, and someone else says something, and then 3 minutes again. I'm a little confused about the 3 minute. Does it start over each time, or is it per person per?
You could say that they'd only make one comment for the 3 minutes.
We need to enforce that.
Well, it needs to be clear.
I'm
not saying that we shouldn't do that.
Well, I mean, on that, so if you don't allow people to speak at the board meetings, right? It's
I'm not saying that. I want them to
right.
say.
No, I get what you're saying. And so you can tighten it up a lot. We don't have to have public comment at the beginning of the meeting at all. Right? We can go through the entire meeting, get to the end and be like, all right, did anyone have a comment? And but by allowing the people to speak, they get to get out their frustrations and stuff, right? I know there's at least several frustrations sitting out in the audience now, maybe literally everywhere. Why else do you stroll up to a government meeting unless you're frustrated, right? And so that's the normal thing.
So is it 3 minutes per public comment?
Yeah. I mean,
We're assuming that.
at my at my discretion,
Okay.
right? So it can be extended. But on that type of stuff,
I agree.
I want to be clear. I'm just trying to, that's McCabe or something
well,
like
and
that.
so all governments have a tendency to become totalitarian, right? And I completely understand why. And I will not be here 1 year, 8 months. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd be a good person after that, right? And so, and I completely understand why. Much better than I am. Much better than all of my study. But I still have that ideal, the ideal that is,
Try in the sky.
I mean, just completely trashed. But nevertheless, I still have this ideal where people have the ability to reason. And then a society is this place where you can work out through discussion your differences. And that it largely doesn't exist, right? But I still think it's a worthy ideal. And so that's what I try to say. So if someone has some sort of reasonable comment that is relevant to our discussion, then I'm like, all right, well, let's hear it. Now, it's not always like that. We have tightened up that first public comment because it was too wild at first. Because everyone, my basic thing was be reasonable. That was my request when I first came into office. And that does not work at all. And so we put on there that we could do the 3-minute limit and stuff like that. And so I think it's good. I completely understand that other side, especially if the public comment isn't, if I go to a meeting and the public comment isn't related to me, right? It's like, all right, we'll get them on. You know, where's the hook, right? Send them off. We got some important things to actually get to. But they think their thing is important.
So this is at your discretion or at the discretion
I can,
of,
as the chairperson.
as the chairperson.
Chairperson. Yep. So
I think that needs,
We all have chairs too, but you're in the main chair.
it's the middle chair. And so, yeah, that's what that is.
I'd like to see the motion be specific that I make a motion to affirm that the board approves the meeting agenda with 3-minute time limit. Stated at the discretion of the chair.
That's reasonable.
Yep, I'll support that. Okay.
All right, so was it motion by Nola?
I made the motion.
Supported by Renee, supported by Carrie. So motion by Nola, supported by Carrie, with the addition at the end,
With the addition
at the
end,
discretion of the
At the
chairperson.
discretion of the chairperson.
Okay,
I like that.
good. Any other
Yeah.
discussion among the board?
You got that?
I'm gonna bring her in. We'll record them and post them so she can look at it later. All right, so roll call vote.
Nola,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee, Christie,
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we move on to our discussion items. There's a single discussion item, and that's about the budget. I have a couple of comments on this. So there are a few things I mentioned in here. One, at a work session, I didn't want to include the entire budget again for a few things, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, already 105 pages. So one is the cemetery, which we talked about at the work session for the capital expenditures, increasing it by 5,000, no big deal there. Two is that the auditor agreed with Tracy. I had condensed the Metro Act revenue money with the local community stabilization money because the local community stabilization took that administration over. And so since it's run by the same place, I thought, why have separate line items? And the auditor said, I'm wrong. Those should be separated, so I'll separate those back out. He said it's just a better practice. All right, so no difference in revenue or expenditures, just difference in how it's listed. And then we also have the marijuana tax through the state, which that is a change. And so there will be a revenue line item added for that, and that's just over $50,000, $51,000. And so that's a revenue item. Then there's two things on there since the packet came out on Wednesday, since I posted it. One is initial window, which we approved, right, at $14,000. So that adjustment will be in there. And then there's a relatively small thing, but Nate and I were looking, mostly Nate, looking at the trade-in on the equipment that we talked about with the mowers. And there's a more expensive version of wheel that lasts longer and wears longer. Probably as an individual, I'm not sure I'd make the expense. So the wheels would be like $1,000, right, or $1,000 more. But they last for a long time, called wheels. And it makes, over the long term, it makes sense, right? Even though it's a lot more at the beginning. And so those were just small notes that came up over the last few days.
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
This 50,000 marijuana tax, what is that money designed to use for?
So each facility that sells, each cannabis place.
Yep, I get it.
Receives 50K. So if we had 2 cannabis stores in Dalton Township, we'd get $100,000.
We get that from them.
No, the state.
No, the state gets that money?
We get that from the state.
State of Michigan
State's giving
pays
us-
every jurisdiction 50K.
So let me ask you though, I'm like,
53% of our budget from the state.
And we're not told how to spend it. We can put it in general
so why
fund
can't
to-
we put it towards a stupid road thing? Like seriously.
I mean, look at
Yeah.
You can, so you can fry the budget. You can fry the budget. We can fry the budget anytime we want, right?
It's extra money coming in.
But
It's extra money coming in, and so if it's extra money coming in, I have a hard time not understanding why we can't apply it to that road bill. And then separate how much people would have to pay, like,
Well, we can't have 5 stores, 250 grand.
it's bad that we have to have these stores, these places in business in the first place. I don't like it. I'm really against it. People, they drive with this stuff under the influence. They don't care about anybody else.
No.
But it's like all this extra money coming in, it's like, let it go to something to help the community that really helps people.
Oh, well, we can do that. We can just pay for the road. I mean, we can pay for everyone's road to the extent that we go broke. I mean, there's a certain
That's
limit
not
there.
what I'm stating. But if you do it for one, you're gonna have to do it for.
Well, you don't have to,
So
the government
this
doesn't
money's
have to be
coming in
favored,
every year, right?
right? The government can say, hey, we're gonna help out you and not you.
And this
The
money's
government can
coming in
completely do
every
that.
year. Am I correct?
That would be an odd thing to do.
You know,
It should come in. Yeah. I mean, I think it's reasonable for like overall road stuff, right? So because we can't do every road an equal amount of work on them. It would be nothing, right? It'd be like throw a little patch of dirt on each road or something. And so we, like the road contract that we just made, right, with the road commission. So it's certain roads that they're recommending, hey, it would make sense to upgrade these for the gravel, put this money into it. And so, I mean, that's the idea there.
develop your town.
Right.
Develop your township. She's got it right on the money. I know. It'll help develop our underdeveloped township.
Well, right, so you can inordinately help some people, right? And so, but that's what the recommendation is.
1 year's worth. What about the next years and the next years and the next years?
If the
It goes
business-
towards all kinds of stuff.
If the business is still there.
I mean, I'm not proposing, no one I don't think is proposing that we don't spend the money. I think no problem. The government will have no problem spending money. If you think the government has problems spending money, I don't know how to help you. That's right. What?
They spend money like they breathe it. We know this.
Right, and so,
It's smart about where you want to help direct it. If you want the township to stay underdeveloped, cool. Keep it underdeveloped. Keep spending the money, having to constantly.
so this is a nonsensical argument, right? And so the reason there's a nonsensical argument is because the township does not have to put any money towards roads.
Right.
Right? We can just say, hey, kick sand, whatever's left on your road, right? Well, I've been trying to put a couple $100,000 per year of township money towards the roads. We literally approved in this meeting that you've been in, $200,000, over $200,000 of township money toward road improvements.
We are trying.
Now that money gets matched in different ways, right? It gets matched in different ways, because sometimes 25%, sometimes 50%, depending on the projects. Just like your paving project, the road commission would only match 25%, right? Because that was their legal limit. But to make the case that if we don't help you out specifically, we are helping out no one in the township is nonsensical. Because from those people's perspective, right, the places that are being improved, you are improving the township. And so it doesn't make sense. But good. Let's, so anything else specifically from the board on the budget discussions, or we can go on to the second public comment? Cool. All right, and then I would prefer to have these super long discussions. Now, a lot of people don't particularly prefer that, right? And so what I've offered, right, and I've offered this a bunch of times, is to have the discussion with just me, because I'll spend 5 hours with you, whatever you want.
Yes, you know.
And then we can just record it and post it on YouTube so people can see that, right? And I think that's good, right? That's my philosophy of trying to work things out through words, through reason, through argument, through persuasion, right? Big First Amendment type of thing, right? Which is, the society has gone in a different direction. But nevertheless, I think that's important. And I've only had one person pull me up, Al Richards, right? We had a nice talk, nice debate on various things. And I think that is super good. And so all these things I know are controversial. Every single thing I think that I deal with in this role is controversial because it's the government. And it's a grand tragedy of the time. Right? And then the culture is really divided. And I don't see that coming together. So if you combine those, it's rough. But if you want to make any public comment on anything, right, it can be on things we covered or anything else about the township, you can make it in the second public comment. And then if you want to have a long discussion, debate on anything, on road allocation, on money allocation overall, I mean, we did a 2-hour meeting. We went over every line item in the budget. I can do that again with anyone. Well, like whatever you guys want, right? I don't have unlimited amounts of time, but it will seem like it if someone wants to go in that direction. And so we can do that if someone wants to have that longer discussion. But I know there's certainly some people that want to say some things here. So if you would come up to the lectern and let us know what you think on anything.
Robin Lindsay, 2795 Middle Lake Road. Just wanted to say that my husband and I have been coming to the township meetings probably for, I don't know, 9-10 years, more than that. And we don't come because we're frustrated. We don't come to complain as a rule. I will complain if I need to, but I really come because I like to be informed of what's going on in my township. And I also like to know, we've been through several changes of the board, and I like to know who you are and your personalities and, how you work. And I do know that, there's usually just a handful of us that are always here every month. And I just wish that more people would come to get informed instead of going on Facebook and complaining about stuff they don't understand because they don't go to the meetings. They don't understand why the decisions are being made the way they're being made. And probably, 100% of you sitting up here now had never really came to township meetings until you were appointed. So you yourself didn't understand how things were determined and why decisions got made the way they did. There's always a lot of misunderstandings about what other people were doing. And I just know that over the years, all of our boards have been really dedicated to trying to do the best they can with what they're dealt with. And like I said, I don't come because I'm frustrated. I come so I don't get so frustrated, I guess. So then I understand, what's going on.
Especially when you're not here.
You all should come all the time, every month.
Absolutely.
Mike Bennett again, Central Road. So this part of the comments, make any difference? Can we go back in that vote, maybe be redone?
You can't go back on that vote.
It's done. Okay. So in regards to Nola's comment, I would just simply say, how many requests for road paving have you got right now?
Well, the petitions, just the one petition right now.
One. So you've got one request in the township for a road to be paved. And Nola's talking about some money that could be spent towards that project. My, and I do hear Christie's opinion that, well, that's unfair to other people, but those other people have not requested to have a road done, and we have. So that would be my argument that way, is that would justify spending that money on our road. The second thing that I would say, just in regards to your vote, is Mark went and got the petitions, got 90% approval.
Yep.
Now, granted, the price was lower at the time. We didn't know what it was going to end up being, and it came in higher. But even at tonight, you still got 85% basing off those that have disputed it. You're only at 15% that have disputed it, so you assume you've got 85% that are for it, and yet you've got half this board that said no. I don't know how you can do that when you've got 85% of the people that say go for it. So, anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's the best argument for that. Now, if I say there's free money, right, and that's the idea, now the money's not free because it takes away from something. And then there's opportunity cost, which I think the more important cost to calculate and think about is where else it can be spent.
May I make a comment?
Well, so let me cover this first, but I get complaints on all 27 miles of dirt roads in the township. I mean, year round. I thought, yeah, with the portion that's paved on Michelinda, it might be,
It's 28.3.
it was 28.3, but is that calculated in Michelinda? Yeah, all right, 28.3. So 28.3 miles of dirt roads. Now I get complaints on all those, along with most of the paved roads as well, right? But the dirt roads certainly get more complaints. And so, I mean, if I say, all right, well, we're willing to pay a portion of whatever paving happens, then obviously, I mean, it would make sense to probably chop part of the road budget for doing like gravel upgrades and stuff like that. Where the money is coming from obviously becomes an issue. If we can, right, the marijuana, you can just say, all right, we're gonna just call that even, maybe for that fund, something like that. But, I mean, all those people want the road taken care of out of someone else's money. So that ends up being, that'll be easy to fill, that's for sure. Wait, what do you have, Renee?
I just want to say that that is actually exactly why I voted the way I did. I know that I didn't vote popular. I voted against my husband, you've noticed. And I agree with you. I think that we're not up here for ourselves, in our opinion. We're up here to represent the people.
Right.
And I believe that 85% of the people spoke. And I'm actually disappointed that it didn't go through.
Oh, my.
As much as my heart hurts, I have to represent the people, not just a person or just 3 people. So I just want you to understand that that is why I voted the way that I did.
Yeah, I mean, I get the other side though. You're taking taxes from people that is a special tax, you know, that have said, we don't want this special tax for this thing. And so I get that.
And let me explain why I did. So Michelinda Road, we went through that whole process and there was, majority wanted it. Hardly any objections. I never heard so much cussing, swearing, angry humans from that road in 3 months' time that don't want it. They didn't want the assessment, they didn't want the interest, they didn't want any of that heartache for the next 10 years.
They pay her.
So, and they're yelling at me. I didn't even come up with the numbers, the attorney did. And I'm getting yelled at on a daily basis. Now they don't want it because now they're seeing the figures on a piece of paper that they owe. And I didn't even keep it. So my vote is because once you see that paper come through and you know that it's going to be there the next 10 years, and you can't even buy food out there right now because it's so expensive, that is why I voted no, because right now you want it, but I can guarantee you your mind will change over. I can guarantee you.
And I'd like to also make a comment why I
Guaranteed.
voted no. I cannot live with the knowledge that I might be taking someone out of their home because of a road. Okay, not at this time. I can't do it. I cannot live with myself. Just the thought, kicking someone out of their home because of something that we don't really have to have.
I believe we have
Man,
3
has to
public
have a home.
comments, right? So Mark had his hand raised first, unless you're good with her going. Yep, yeah.
John Sprague, 3685 Ross, been there for 8 years and never been notified about these meetings. I would have been here. But anyway, I have a good idea, okay? You have all that money, don't worry, I'll try to take 3 minutes. You got all that money for the marijuana, okay? Good idea. Veterans, disabled, severely disabled people, okay? Very poor people that are disabled, veterans and seniors, okay? That money can go towards a fund for seniors, and that money will go to help them pay for their taxes, to help them with the roads, and therefore will help the community. Because my dad right now is living in my house. He is 72 years old, veteran, highly disabled. And here, I'm having to pay for my road that was just put there, but it's only part done. You guys paved it and then gravelled it, and there's no lines or nothing down it. So it's not, therefore it's not done yet. So that's why I'm wondering, what to do. But it's a good idea to put that drug money to be towards the community, because there are so many seniors
here that are having trouble being able to even pay their taxes or roads and help put the money back into the community. And more people actually will probably move to Lakewood. Yeah.
I think we had two more, so whoever wants to go.
Yeah, I have a lot to cover here. About your comment kicking somebody out of the house. That person, Ed, over here, knows that when I first approached him, I asked him if he'd sell that lot. He said, absolutely not. So he has assets, okay? I have assets. I have to take some of my assets out of my IRA to pay for this road. He has an opportunity because he has that lot next to him. He's not using that lot. He can sell that lot. He's not actually kicking. When he says he's kicking himself out of the house, he's doing that voluntarily because he has access to other assets, like we all do. So this comment of this kicking me out of my home and you feel terrible about it, that's not true. He has options. He can use his options. If he doesn't want to, that's fine, because you know what? I don't want to take my money out of my IRA either. Especially now, everybody knows what the stock market's been doing. I'm getting beat. We're all getting beat. And we all know it's not going to stop. And we all know that next year our property tax is going to go up, probably what, 5%? I mean, and now you're trying to.
Unless the market tanks.
Say the longer, is just going to keep raising this cost up.
Yep.
And on this road, everybody knows it's horrible. Do you guys actually know that Reese Puffer School has refused to let the buses go down that road on several occasions because it's too rough?
Yep,
That's
right.
Yes, and I have 3.
And I have grandchildren that get picked up every morning.
You have to bring them to the end of the road where it's paved to pick them up.
Yep, with my 3 disabled children.
There you go.
I wish we would hear these things before we vote. This is why
That was
we
public
postponed
comment.
this a month on purpose, to hear from you. I wished every person that just spoke would have said those things. I wish you would have been here earlier, ma'am. I would have liked to have that comment. It's too late.
I'll try.
I know, I understand. You have 3 children.
Well, 3 disabled children, that's a handful. God bless, man.
All right. Did you have another?
I just wanted to say, I mean, I just got my tax notice that my taxes are gonna go up $150 a year. So I guess my ask at this point would be, and if I need to do something, or Mark or whoever to get this to go forward, we need to do something with our road. We need to make it better. It's a mess right now after the snowstorm. In the summertime, we get the treatment one time, and during the season lasts a month or so, and now we're into a dust storm again. And so I guess that if we're not gonna put the money towards paving, we need to take care of the road, better care of the road.
Yeah.
And whatever we need to do to get that, you know, I mean, if I
I'd
could,
burn up that $50,000 just to plow it back and forth and graveling.
In brining, which I know you guys don't let the road commission brine it. On that lines, I researched this too, and the road commission uses a higher grade brine than you guys do. That's why you got a cheaper price, so it doesn't last as long.
Last time they put
And
broken.
last brine, the last brine was horrible because you never put brine on a road when it's dry. You know, and yet you did. Now, that might not.
Are
be your
you
fault.
claiming that we brine the road?
We don't.
You paid to brine the road.
We pay.
You hired a contractor to brine that road for you. The road commission road commission will do half the cost and they'll give you half the bill. You chose to opt to that road commission and pick up a separate contractor. Is that correct?
That is a lie.
That's a lie.
So who does it? The road commission doesn't brine that road. They told me they don't brine that road. They said you brine that road.
We don't have
And I mean, that's a lie. We paid the road commission, have $20-some thousand, and they contribute the other $20-some thousand to brine the road.
We do not.
Well, that's not what he told me. He says Dalton Township opted out of the road commission brining to have somebody else do it.
Are you sure it
You
wasn't
guys are brining
Horton?
Sour Well to
Horton
brine
Township?
Dalton Township.
That's a lie. But I mean,
That's for the supervisors.
I encounter lies, well, I mean, maybe daily in this job. It's people just don't tell the truth. It's just period, right? At the end of that. And so, but it's super common. I mean, I don't know whether to believe you or that the other guy was lying, but there's some version of a lie that eventually is filtered down to this level.
so that would be, I just hope that we can find some solution to make the road better. In regards to Christie, my only argument would be that and I know people say, well, yeah, I got it, but I didn't read it or whatever. And it's like, you guys have done a great job. You've notified us. You've told us what's going on. I mean, it's people's own inability to follow through, and then they whine after the fact. So that there's just no excuse for that.
Correct, because they had their opportunity. And I still can't believe you want to curtail this thing for 50%. I just.
There's only a certain amount, only a certain amount of information I can release. I mean, that's why, like, I post online, the packets that the board sees. So I can't release more information than that because I do. Sometimes I make larger packets, but no, we record and post the meetings, so it's as open and public as it can be, that's for sure. Yeah, cool.
Mark says I have assets. I have pictures I took a week ago of my swamp. Okay, that yard is underwater right now. Taking pictures towards Angie's house, it's all water. One reason.
Driveway out.
Watching, one of the reasons I don't want to sell it is I'm trying to get my daughter and son-in-law moved up from Indianapolis. And they want to move onto that property. If I sell it, I'm not gonna have my daughter up here. And she's getting close to 50 years old, I'm 73. She wants to get close to mom and dad so she can help take care of her. Now, assets, I don't have a 401k. I got less than $200 into a savings account that I put in there. But will I be kicked out of my house? I think my kids could probably keep me in there one way or another. But I didn't expect it not to pass. But I was just saying, hoping that I could maybe get exempt from the tribunal. From you. You're the one that done it. Yeah, I didn't expect it, and the majority wants it. I'd say make a motion, so let's reverse that vote. Who supports?
Oh, man, chaos. It's super interesting. And politics largely is an entertainment function in our society, so it's entertaining, that's for sure. All right, good. Any other public comments on anything?
You're sticking to pretend you're gonna throw this road out. Is that correct?
As of now,
What do you mean as of now? So
I believe, because we had the hearing and everything, we had the vote. Yep.
So we have to do another petition.
Yeah.
oh my God, man. 15%. You threw it up for 15%.
I did.
You okay with that? You can't say, let's do a
I told you at the beginning that it was gonna be a political mess, remember?
Yeah, but I'm thinking.
I guarantee that. I guarantee that.
You shut this down for
We're a
15%.
constitutional representative republic,
Not allowed to go.
kind of.
I was just at the county and the commissioners thing. They voted, they went through, and then we had 15 people comment. And because the vote had already been done, they could not go back legally. We're not allowed to legally go back. So so you understand, that is trust me.
So how soon can we get this second petition going?
It's gonna be more, man.
But you can start it up soon. All right. Any public comment, anything else? I've got a comment. Yeah.
No correction. Arnold Johnson, 225 Westlake Road. You guys voted for only one brining. They voted last year for one brining, paid for one brining.
Yep.
I come from a county, they brined every month. Why did I not go 2 brinings? And the county does not brine the road. They subcontract.
I believe they subcontracted.
There you go. So the county doesn't do it. They get the cheapest bid to come in, and that's what I'm doing.
Right, but our deal was with the county. And so it's $50,000 for a second brining, 50,000 for a third, 50,000 for a fourth. We can
Nothing
spend,
wrong with that. Somebody's got asthma. It protects them.
Keeps
that road solid.
right. We could spend an entire township budget on brining.
There you go. If you'd approve the road, that'd be one less road you have to brine. I can't see a petition that people sign. Get more than 51%, and the board turns it down. Remember, next election.
So I gotta say, that's not even 51%, it's
Yeah.
a no-brainer, man, I couldn't believe it. 15%, shut down for 15%.
Next election, we'll take care of that. Anything else?
Oh, man. That's very disappointing.
I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Any support?
Ready for phone calls. I'm
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Get it straight.
That's a sorry. What,